and Tion Elof now into the toe, pulling themselves along. You can see De Villiers tried looking on the inside, not close enough. Tini Kube having to go defensive as Elof is chasing him down. Elof actually has done his pit stop, so he's got one out the way and focusing on what needs to be done for his second one. Going up on the inside, the Aston Martin just having the legs on the BMW and snatches the position away from Tini and Kube, and now is on the charge to go after De Villiers just a little bit ahead.
We saw last night those Aston Martins, they were flying last night. Unfortunately, tonight, they're not that high up in the field as of just yet. But this battle between De Villiers and Elof and Meyer in front of them, and then behind them we've got Nkube, and Nkube will try and keep up with Elof, if I'm not mistaken, making this basically a 4-car battle that we're looking at.
It's going to be an incredible run right the way through. And what's going to happen? Well, no one can know what's going to happen at this point because there's still the pit stops. There's still the mandatory 2 pit stops that are needed for the race. And a couple of guys managing to do it, getting an early pit stop. I see Alan Patterson has joined in the chat. Hopefully Mike's a little bit better, doing slight adjustments. Thanks, Alan, for going and letting us know. But this is where I'm going to lean on the chat on both Twitch and on YouTube to give us their thoughts. So far, we did have Bertha say an undercut is better from what he feels. And, well, I don't think he's wrong in that regard. An undercut, I think, will be a brilliant thing if you're caught up in so much traffic. If you take a look at Elof and De Villiers, who are slugging it out, at this point, you pushing your competitor into a difficult situation. You're trying to force him to use his tires a bit more. But what you can do is line yourself up, go into the pits before your competitor ahead of you is driving past it. Sucker him into a move. That is a possibility. But you also can have the front car that you following leading into the apex and then landing up with a world of hurt when he climbs onto the anchor. So a couple of suggestions have to be made, and you can be sure that the team managers are talking through. The pit bosses are saying, all right, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to have to make a plan. And the teammates such as Daniel Rowe, Bago Krobler, are racing to go after Daniel the Matchless Petro at the moment.
I was actually watching this. This is turning out to be a monumental battle with Rowe and Krobler going after the Matchless Petro. I mean, they're all over the back of him, essentially.
Okay, I just want to point out once again, this man over here. This is Jan Kleinans. For anyone that doesn't know Jan Kleinans, he just sent a message in
Text
YouTube.
and drives. Yeah, he texts and drives.
He's listening to the commentary right now and said, well, we're going to see what the undercut looks like. Has pulled into the pits and now getting himself back out. I mean, don't know what to say.
What my apology, let me just explain to everybody what my apology was at the start of the race. I mean, Jan was doing exactly the same last night, and I said to him, he was, watch out, he's going to hit the wall, and he hit the wall on turn 3. Oh, as we see Bago, not Bago, Daniel Rowe, a little bit of contact, and Daniel de Matos Preto losing it through that bus stop chicane. That's unfortunate, and that shows you how easily the slightest bit of contact through that section of track can make things go horribly wrong, Stephen.
Oh, that's it. And Daniel Rowe, who got a little bit elbows out, but I think both was staring at one another and just seeing the white in each other's eyes to get a little bit forward. So not quite the race they wanted, but Daniel now having to try and drive around with a bit of balloons attached to his car to focus on the charge.
Absolutely. But anybody that has raced against Daniel Rowe, myself included, you will know Daniel will never back out. And that's something, surely, Stephen, you need to take into consideration when you're battling with Daniel. If he sees a gap, he's going to go for it. And he's not going to back out from that. And then with Bago behind him, Bago is going to follow suit. He races, I would say, fairly similar style to Daniel. I'm not calling it aggressive style of racing, but I'm saying if they see a gap, now we've got Bago against Daniel. That's going to get interesting.
Well, there's the interesting part. The two teammates colliding.
What a drift.
Ultimate drift. And Sanjit Pillay comes by, also goes a little bit elbow out and says, well, listen, I'm going to also give you a bit of a love tap there. But the two Hybrid Academy teammates literally got shoulder to shoulder with one another. It did not work out. Both of them coming out on a terrible loss there. And, well, not quite what any expected, but you can see first contact was a bit of a slide around, and you can see Vega trying to rejoin the circuit. Sanjin up on the inside. He gives a little bit of a push to Daniel Rowe. And Daniel now having to try and pull his teammate back. Not quite what the two expected. And maybe a slight miscommunication of, listen, I'm coming through. And, well, the driver's saying, listen, I'm not going to back down from the situation either.
That's essentially what happens when two drivers races each other that does not back out, either of them.
I wouldn't like to be in that pit right now. That's rest assured on that one.
It's a kind of a case like, I see Daniel Rowe's gone into the pits, but it's kind of a case of Bagel.
Vega's staying out and Daniel Rowe into the pits. So maybe the decision there came and said, well, listen, you dive into the pits, move out the way, and let's not try and recreate what we just had.
Yeah, I mean, that was honestly a case of you brake first. No, you brake first.
It's what are friends for other than getting you drifting through the bus stop?
Well, it was an awesome drift.
Well, taking a look at our race at the moment, 44 minutes left. Cody Sherritt still up in first place, now making his way through the back markers. Henry Mayer chasing down in second place, along with Sanjin Pillay, Mac van der Merwe, Bago Krobler, Daniel Dematros Petro, SES House, Gideon Rayner, Peter Meyer up into 9th place, 10th place Daniel de Villiers, Philip Minard up in, well, actually diving up into 11th place and has done a pit stop. So he's got one to go. Daniel Rowe in 12th. Andre Serradio in 13th.
So, just before you move on, I just want to mention Daniel Rowe was stationary for 13.2 seconds. So that means Daniel did not take new tires. Philip Minard, just in front of him, was stationary for 35 seconds. So that means Philip has taken new tires on his last pit stop.
Henry Mayer going and make his way through. Cody Sherritt is into the pit, so he's getting himself sorted. And let's take a look at how long is he going to be out for? That's the thing. How long is he going to be stopped in the pit box? A couple of guys have switched out and done some tire changes. Philip Minard, 35 seconds in the box. That's a tire change. Daniel Rowe has done 13, so that's fuel. Andre Serradio has done 10, that's fuel. So at the moment, we've got Tian Iloff, who has completed all his pit stops. He's in 20th. He's done a tire change and fuel, so he's got that out the way. Ryan Ottens has done tires and fuel. And Cody Sherritt, 32 seconds in the box, so he's also tires and fuel for his run. But remember, still got one more pit stop to move forward.
Yeah, I mean, now your next pit stop is only going to be a fuel stop. So now you've got your tire change out the way, and pretty much how I would have done it, split the race into two halves with about 40 minutes to go, get new tires on in that way. Well, I personally believe that's how you get the best out of both worlds with the tires. Other people would argue maybe put a little bit later, get a fresh set of tires on, run low fuel, do a bit of a quali run. But it's a risky move because you can end up in traffic, and then all that pace you've got underneath you basically means almost nothing.
Well, Daniel de Villiers actually coming to blows with Philip Minard, and that's allowed one of the Hondas to get up, and I think that might be Clenance who's actually chasing him down, hoping to get a bit more of a run. So, race starting to evolve. You said about 40 minutes. You're going to try and split it halfway. A couple of drivers actually taking that decision, and Bago Krobler, I think, is going for the longer run of this, going past the pits once again. Cody Sherritt, though, fastest lap time of the race, 1:43.7. So really focusing on the hard charge to move forward and get himself back up. He's in a good position at the moment, considering Ilof is down in 19th and has completed all his pit stops. I think Cody is in for a good run at the moment, but he cannot be too calm at the moment because Philip Minnar, who has also done a pit stop, who he's seen has got the pace, is trying to make moves and move his way up.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think, and as I just wanted to say that, I see Cody Sherritt did get past Peter Morris, so he's now got a 22-second gap to Gideon Rennie in front of him. So not necessarily clear space on the racetrack, but he's got a little bit of space to work now, where Philip Minnar still needs to get past Peter Morris.
It's all decisions to be made.
I mean, we'll have to see how this race unfolds as we are now hitting the halfway mark. 20 or 40 minutes gone, 40 minutes to go. At this stage, we are having a look at Peter Minnar. He's trying to work his way up to Peter Marr. The two Peters trying to fight it out. Oh, sorry, Philip Minnar. My bad. Making his way up to Peter Marr. I think personally he's going to try and make his way past Peter Marr as quickly as possible and try and set his sights on Cody Sherritt, because essentially that is position 1 or net position 1 and position 2 in the race.
It's going to be a bit of a hard charge. A couple of guys have been moving up. SES House up into 4th place. He's focusing on his race at the moment. Still mandatory 2 stops to go. Has not pitted, but is enjoying being in 4th place at the moment and really trying to focus on the charge to keep going. So the race isn't over. 39 minutes left, and it's all or nothing for all these drivers to focus on the charge. A couple of guys saying that the Honda drivers are going to sickle like Cody Sherritt on
That's just
tires.
what I wanted to mention. That's exactly what I wanted to mention. I mean, Christian Deploy in the chat saying Cody's going to maybe struggle later on because the Honda is hectic on the tires. And that's exactly what we saw last night happen to Daniel De Matos Preto, which is this stage still sitting in 3rd place. But even we saw those tires dropping off last night and him starting, clearly losing ground to the guys in front. So we'll have to see what's going to happen. Oh, and as we see Cody running wide, getting the rear end of that Honda out. And, looks like we've got another drift fest going on here.
It's going to be an interesting one for it. And I'm starting to wonder how the tires are starting to drop off on a couple of cars. We jump on board with Grant Sebastian. You can see just hanging in 5th gear. Daniel De Villiers has also got a little bit of a problem with one of the Hondas just keeping within the toe. And I think all the guys have now started mixing back markers, our front runners mixing it with the back markers, and how it's all going to end up and who's going to be up ahead, who knows how it's going to work out, who's going to have the advantage through it.
I mean, in these longer types of races, hour and 20 minutes, negotiating traffic, if you want to call it that, it's all part of the racing and how you can negotiate yourself through those back markers while losing the least amount of time possible. But it goes both ways. It's the same for the car that's being lapped. It's kind of an art. You need to let the faster car go through without also losing as little time as possible. Currently, we're driving with Daniel De Villiers. He is currently in 7th place, and he's currently now moving up to 5th place, I see, according to my timing sheet. So I don't know if ACC is still a little bit behind, but Daniel De Villiers, he is 1.5 seconds behind Philip Minnar. So he's trying to get that position back and move his way up the field.
It's going to be, I don't know how it's going to all work out. The guys are going to really start finding out Daniel Rowe up onto the back of Daniel De Villiers and really trying to claw his way through. So Daniel De Villiers has to keep an eye on his mirrors, considering Daniel Rowe has done his 1 mandatory pit stop. He still needs to do 1 more, but has got the pace. Dives up on the inside, but there's a contact. Little bit of a slight nudge. Daniel De Villiers managed to keep it up and going, and they're pulling their way going.
But as I wanted to mention, you're running with both your pit stops still to be made. Do you think it's worthwhile fighting the likes of Daniel Rowe that has already done one of their pit stops? Or, essentially you are in a different race. So might be a good idea just to let him go and lose as little time as possible instead of fighting him. As we watch this little battle now, Daniel de Villiers and Daniel Rowe. Daniel Rowe at this stage, 0.5 of a second behind. It does look like he let de Villiers pass again. But now setting his sights, I have mentioned that de Villiers still needs to do both his pit stops, so he might be diving into the pits fairly soon, decides to stay out. Daniel Rowe now only 0.2 of a second behind. He's trying to line him out. De Villiers defending that inside line. Rowe going outside and tries to go around the outside and does make the pass stick, but does run wide. This is going to hurt him on the exit, and that will allow de Villiers to come back. But no, Rowe stays on the outside, and they go side by side. Daniel Rowe has got the slight upper hand and does make the pass. Now, de Villiers are going to try and slot into that slipstream and maybe come back at him through the bus stop chicane, a little bit far behind. Don't think has a little bit of look on the inside, but decides against it. So we'll have to remain to be seen when Daniel de Villiers is going to go into the pits to make his first pit stop. It does look like now that Daniel Rowe has made his way past, that it seems like he's opening up a slight little gap and starting to pull away from de Villiers. If we have a look at our last pit stop, Daniel has already done his first pit stop, so it remains to be seen. Yes.
I just want to... How's it? I
got caught up in the moment. Sorry, I forgot about you.
It's all good. I just want to bring up Tian Elof has completed all his mandatory pit stop. He's in 14th place at the moment. Everyone else ahead of him has got 1 pit stop to 2 pit stops to go. So at the current pace, he's running about 144.1. So he's about a second off the pace of the likes of Cody Sherritt. But maybe, just maybe, hoping the undercut will work. SES House actually diving into the pits. So Philip Minnow coming by. Cody Sherritt back up into first place and needs to open up a gap. I would say a rough gap, a good gap to open up for your pit stop is going to be about 18 seconds. What's your thoughts on that?
Depends on what your tires are doing. I mean, if your tires are going off and you haven't changed tires yet, and that's going to set you back a whole minute, we've seen. So, I don't know. It's a difficult one. We've got 33 minutes to go. There's a couple of guys that have not decided to take on new tires, Stephen. And I don't know if that's going to come back to hurt them or what do you think?
I think it's going to... I don't know what to think about it. Every time that I've done testing at Watkins Glen in a variety, whether it's GT4 or GT3. Running an hour and 20 minutes on one set of tires is you're asking a lot for it. You're asking the tires to hang on for dear life for a long period of time, and it can land up in a world of hurt very, very quickly. Towards the end of the race, you're going to be dealing with no grip. You're going to be on ice at the moment. It's 14 degrees. We've lost a degree out on circuit. So that factor's coming into play.
There's one person coming to mind when I say all this. Daniel Rowe, currently running 3rd position, has not taken on a new set of tires yet with 32 minutes to go. His last pit stop was only 13.2 seconds stationary. That's just enough time for refuel. That's not enough time for tires. Tires, we're talking 32 to 35 seconds, even 36 seconds, depending on how much fuel you take. Stationary to get new tires. So Daniel still on the same set of tires that he started this race with.
Well, I have to agree with our comments coming through. A night race is incredibly cool. There's nothing like it. I think it really challenges the drivers, but Daniel de Villiers has not pitted, so he's got to try and make his way up. But a night race is definitely switching it up a little bit. Maybe we have a bit of rain later in the season. Who knows?
How about a night race with rain? Come on, Mr. Burtis, you guys. See you watching. Wink, wink.
I think there's going to be a few drivers that are going to be having a conversation with you going in. Why are you wishing ill on going and inviting rain and darkness in a
A
single race.
night race with rain on Bathurst.
With Janneman participating.
Yeah. That's not going to go well, is it?
It's all talk. It's all great until you gotta be there to do it. And our last one didn't go so well, Jan. I don't know if you remember it all though, but maybe between you and I, we hit the wall hard enough to forget. Through
Well,
Bathurst.
we also forgot what the tire pressure should be on ACC. Oh, are you talking about our last race on Bathurst?
Yes, we actually did do a night race with everything, and it didn't quite end up the way that we wanted. There was a little bit of contact between Ryan Ottens and Justin Lotus. Let's actually take a look and see what happened. And I got a funny feeling Ryan Ottens and Justin Lotus just misjudged each other's braking. And, well, it's easy to do. Take a look how dark it is. You can't even see the grandstands properly. Getting right up behind Justin Lotus. A little bit of a nudge, trying to make his way through. Porsche just having a little bit too much of a run on the BMW. The slightest of nudges and climbing onto the acres. But you could just see how difficult it's becoming out there because how dark the surroundings are for the drivers to try and view what's going on. You got the car ahead of you saying, like Ryan Ottens has got you, and he's trying to claw his way around.
Absolutely. And as we saw last night, with some of these cars during a night race, you do not want to pick up front end damage because they start blinking as soon as you hit those brakes, meaning the lights shut off. Then you've got no lights while you're on the brakes.
Oh, there's a beautiful shot of the Aston Martin, and Henry Mayo has actually come to a stop and looks like he's also disconnected. But, I mean, you could see lights ablaze with these cars. It's getting darker and darker. The interior lights actually becoming a little bit more prevalent for you just to keep an eye out on what you need to do. And a lot of people think that this wouldn't affect you, but thanks to the game engine of Assetto Corsa Competizione, well, when you're sitting in this situation right here, as you come bailing through, as Andre Serradio has just gone past SES House, and I think had a change of color of his shorts at that point, life can get rather interesting. And, well, this isn't even the highest of what the graphics can be, so people are running the higher graphic cards who can push out more of what's going on. Well, it's a darker situation. The lights are a little bit brighter than you expect.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, night races on high graphics is something else. But what's even worse than that is sunsets and sunrises. I hate sunsets and sunrises.
Just not a morning person or an evening person. Just
you just come
You're
around you just come around a corner and all of a sudden you can't see anything. It's just poof, white screens.
I would play copyrighted music here, but I wouldn't recommend it. But everyone knows what music we're referring to.
Bertus has got a job for me. He says Janneman can drive the safety car. Bertus, I'm all up for it. Next race, I'm driving the safety car on the formation lap. At least then I can lead a race in the pro division for one lap.
You've got to make sure that everyone's got the pit limiters on for you. Don't stress, buddy. Andre Serradio going after Peter Meyer, trying to go around the outside of him. Couldn't make it stick. Peter Meyer actually moving around to try and hold back Serradio. Serradio now going to go around the outside, side by side into turn one. Serradio backing out of it. Peter Meyer just able to go on the anchors a little bit better. And this is where it comes in. Mid-engines with a bit more rotation, able to pull them through and keep going. So Serradio now having to keep an eye out because STS House chasing him further behind. And, well, all these little factors coming into play. And Andre Serradio, who's in the Mercedes, which is known for having a lot heavier tire usage this season. And, well, he's pushing the car a little bit harder every single time to try and get ahead of the mid-engine. Bago Krobler going after Mac van der Merwe. Now, these are two of the same vehicles, the Audi R8 LMS Evo GT3s. Now, R8 Evo GT3s. I've got to get it right. There's a whole big, you've got to have a whole big press release just to get the names right for these. But
it's a mouthful.
two different setups. Mac van der Merwe running slightly more aero on the rear wing to try and help with the car through the corners. His idea is through bus stop and through the likes of turn 3, turn 4 to keep the car compressed, means he can keep the nose down a little bit more. Bago Krobler, with more straight line, has flattened everything out, and this is where it becomes a bit more beneficial. Utilizing the slipstream, utilizing the aero, hard onto the brakes. He's able to make it, but for how long can he keep ahead of Mac van der Merwe, who can, well, in technical terms, brake a little bit later?
I mean, absolutely. That you mentioned on the difference between the setups. My argument always with the higher downforce setups is, and it doesn't work on all the tracks. If you can get away through the corners, they won't be able to catch you on the straights. And unfortunately, with long straights like these, they do eventually catch you. As we have a look at Sanjan Pillay with what day was it?
Here? Hold on. SES House. This is actually moving back. SES House, who came round. There's Andre Serradio, collected the back of Andre, and it just looked like Andre wasn't going incredibly too fast. SE came out behind him, gave him a slight nudge, and Andre was able to keep it together. But what happened to SE? This is through turn 1, though. And did the car rotate underneath him?
Yeah,
yes, it did. Catching the
clip
curve.
that inside curve, yeah.
And steering the wrong way down pit lane. And now you've got to try and reverse yourself back without getting involved in any of the issues. Let's actually take a look here. Philip Minnaar, Cody Sherritt. Now, we were talking about Cody running away with this. Philip Minnaar has closed down onto the back of Cody Sherritt. This is your fight for first place at the moment. Couple of back markers ahead of them, and this is not what Cody Sherritt wants to be seeing right now, is back markers ahead of him, and a Philip Minnaar who's on a hard charge, similar in terms of their pit strategy, both gone for a set of tires, both pushing as hard as they can. Philip Minnaar actually a little bit quicker on the last lap, doing a 143, while Cody did a 144.6.
So, Steven, is this deja vu? Is this deja vu of last night, where we saw those front-engine cars coming through to the latter parts of the race, and the mid-engine cars, like the Hondas last night, starting to struggle? Maybe Christian Deploy, in his comments on YouTube, was correct. The Hondas might struggle through the latter parts of the race. 23 minutes to go. Is the front-engines cars starting to come back? We're starting to see more and more of them up to the front of the field. Daniel Rowe in third place in the BMW, and Philip Minnaar second place in the Aston Martin.
Well, I think at this point, Cody Sherritt is waiting for VTEC to kick in. That is for certain, to try and pull away from the mighty Aston Martin V8 at this point. It's chasing him down, and you know, when you're in a race for first place, you've got 23 minutes left. You're focusing on tire management, fuel management. You've got back markers now, and you see this Justin Lotus actually moving out the way, coming off the throttle, allowing the guys to go through, and just saying, listen, I'm not going to worry too much about this. You guys go through, keep on the charge. Let me stay way out of this fight. Don't want to get involved. And, well, as much as, you know, it impacts his race, it's very respectful to do that, to just give him an opportunity, especially on a circuit that the last thing you want is someone to try and outbrake you into the bus stop, because so far this race, we've seen what happens.
It does not work out. But
it's less than ideal.
Now,
put it that way.
If any one of these two, Cody Sherritt or Philip Minnaar, has got somebody in their ear that can have a look at gaps behind them to see where they will filter out, should they pit now? Do you think, Stephen, that might be an idea? Because obviously when you start getting into a battle, you are running slower lap times. So maybe an idea for either Cody Sherritt or Philip Minnaar to see where they'll filter out if they pit now and fuel till the end of the race. Maybe this is something that might be won with an undercut.
Well, talking about fueling, this Ferrari of Daniel de Villiers. Now, on our system, it shows that he's still got 2 pit stops to go. No tires, no fuel has been put on. He hasn't dived into the pits. What is this Ferrari running on? Solar power at this point, because it's still going with 20 minutes or 21 minutes left of the race, and he's still got the mandatory pit stops. He's not slowing down and not diving into the pits anytime soon, something is going to have to give at some point on this Ferrari.
I mean, absolutely. We see the bare limit on these type of cars in terms of fuelage is about an hour and 10 minutes. Which, if he runs the tank dry, that will leave only 10 minutes in the race and less than 10 minutes to do his 2 pit stops. Well, at this stage, he's actually only got, what, 17 minutes to do all these pit stops? That is something that might get interesting and something we will have to keep an eye on as this race progresses. But as I said, only just under 21 minutes to go. At this stage, we're having a look at Daniel de Matos Petro flashing Sanjan Pillay, saying he's coming through, but Sanjan just saying, no, you're not coming through to the bus stop today. I think both of them have learned that there has been a couple of, as we could call them, nudges when they go through that little section. So Daniel will have to slot in behind Sanjan for yet another couple of corners. Passing through this next section is kind of difficult. So this is more of a case of trying to get as close to the car as possible and trying to line them up for either a turn 1 pass or a pass through the bus stop chicane, unless you get a run on them through one of these straights. But it does look like Daniel is struggling a little bit with traction out of that corner. Let's see what happens through this next section. Closing up on Sanjan. Definitely closing up on the straights, but let's see what happens through this next tight section. It's right and then left. This is a very tricky little corner as the track dips away from you. Very easy to lose the rear end of the car. And now the final 2 corners, and then it's the pit straight. So let's see what Daniel can do once they start another lap.
Well, another little battle to keep an eye out is Tian Elof and Daniel Rowe are slugging it out with one another. So, I mean, we've got 3 battles within the top 10. We have got Cody Sherritt and Philip Minnaar, who are on a hard charge right now. Philip Minnaar trying to go up on the inside of Cody Sherritt. Couldn't make it stick, was a little bit too far back to make a battle there. You got Sanjan Pillay going and battling it out with Daniel de Matos Petro. Then you got Daniel Rowe and Tian Elof, who are also slugging it out. So wherever you look through the field, the guys are all having a phenomenal battle out on circuit and really showing what they can do in the skill level of our Pro Division.
I mean, absolutely. Daniel Rowe has dropped back to 9th position. So he has completed all his pit stops. And Daniel de Matos Petro losing the Honda there, Steven.
Now,
that's going to spoil that little battle a bit.
Now, Sanjan Pillay and Daniel actually getting super close to one another. We go back a little bit and you can see it was heading into the bus stop, side by side with one another, staring the whites into the eyes. But, you know, there's only so much track, and unfortunately, there's the nudge. Sanjan was able to get away from it, but Daniel, who had to take evasive action not to hit the little orange barriers, landed up with it sliding out, and that's a race. Of his one turned out a little bit further behind was this little battle, which is still going on at the moment, and that is Tian Elof and Daniel Rowe still slugging it out amongst each other. So, you know, still got 2 very close battles at the moment. I think that one to keep an eye out is Cody Sherritt and Philip Minnaar on what is the strategy for their pit stop, because Daniel Rowe, who's down in 9th place, and Tian Elof in 10th have completed all their pit stops. They are running
Daniel Rowe is
times,
on a fresh set of tires, yeah.
But they're running similar times to our front 2 as well. So they're slowly starting to close down and make their way through the field. What's going to be done now? What needs to be done to allow Cody Sherritt and Philip Minnaar to keep going? And considering how valuable the points are right now, Philip Minnaar for Rugoli Racing is getting maximum points for his team. Cody Sherritt, who's trying to get some points back and recover after race number 1, hoping that would be more of a drop round for him. Round 2 being a very good one. Round 3 is hoping to also make a good, and what a way to walk away with a win ahead of your current leader for the championship. These are little factors starting to come in play. Where the strategy comes in, you can see just slightly tapping the brakes, not hanging onto it, so they're going past pit lane, not hanging around for it. So, I don't know. It's going to be a difficult run all the way through the field, and, well, it leaves us guessing. With 16 minutes left to go, one pit stop each, what do you need to do?
Well,
When are you going to do it? And the question is, who's going to roll the dice first? This is a gamble for both drivers. Cody Shearer trying to go on the inside, managing to make it stick, and Philip Minnaar having to hang back onto the battle. Daniel de Villiers and Bego Krobler are going to do battle as well with one another as they make their way around the circuit. So, for these two right now, who's going to roll the dice? Daniel de Villiers in third place is essentially 2 pit stops out. Now, I don't know if that is a timing problem that we've got on our system. I don't think so, but he's running on solar power, or that Ferrari is running on the fumes off a rag at the moment to keep going. And,
easy there. There's literally millimeters between those two cars just before they went through that bus stop chicane. But Stephen, the one thing I want to mention is on ACC itself and on our timing tables, it does show that he has done 0 pit stops so far. So he's got 11 minutes left to do 2 pit stops. I mean, that's going to be basically almost pitting, doing 1 lap and pitting again.
It's, I don't know, ran it a bit too late, I think. Possibly.
I just want to find out, Bertus, you did mention in the driver's briefing that they need to do 2 pit stops. It's not a sprint race now. I'm just checking with Mr. Bertus here if he's just mentioned that to everybody. But, Stephen, just under 15 minutes to go now. These two slugging it out with Daniel de Villiers still having to make 2 pit stops. Bego still need to make 1 pit stop. A little bit further down the line, Daniel Rowe now in 8th position. He went for a different strategy. He went for light car new tires. He fitted new tires on his last pit stop with roughly, it was about 22, 23 minutes to go. So he's got fresh tires on that car, but he is currently under pressure from Elof behind him. So at this stage, he's not having the easiest of times.
I just want to point out the Ferrari is in the pits. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. He's in the pits. I think the stallion coughed and spluttered its way into the pits, that's for certain. And that has actually released the likes of Bego Krobler to go on the charge. Tia and Elof trying to get past Daniel Rowe. Remember, they're battling out for team championships as well. So maximizing this is definitely needed because we have 8 rounds in the entire championship. We're on our 3rd round. We're nearly to the halfway mark. Next week is the halfway mark. And that's going to be heading to Indianapolis. So whatever advantage you can take, you're going to have to take it now.
Yeah, and we're going into Indianapolis Motor Speedway next week, and some of these guys have practiced their drafting around the Watkins Glen, so they've definitely prepared for next week. As we see Elof having a look at Daniel Rowe through the bus stop, deciding not to go for it. I think they've learned what happens through there if you try and be overzealous, as they would say. So he's sticking behind Daniel, but definitely putting Daniel under pressure. Slowing Daniel down because Daniel needs to defend against him, and that's kind of ruining that new tires light car strategy that Daniel decided to go for.
Well, I want to point out here, Philip Minnaar has done his pit stop. He's making his way through. Cody Shearer is in the pits. He's down on tires. So let's see, coming out to the straight, will Cody Shearer get out ahead of Philip Minnaar? It's going to be close. Making their way through. It is going to be side by side.
I think Cody's got him. Cody's got him.
But now he is going to have to build up speed while Philip Minnaar is carrying more than enough momentum at the moment to start closing down. So Cody is still accelerating at this point. Philip Minnaar is getting closer to his top end of the car. And, oh man, just narrowly missing out. Philip Minnaar tried rolling the dice a little bit earlier. I think it has cost him. But now Cody, on a little bit cooler tires, has to try and go. He was stopped in the box, 5.9 seconds, where Philip Minnaar was 8 seconds. I think that is down to fuel usage just being a little bit higher. But I don't think Cody's out of the woodwork just yet. Philip Minnaar is pushing to try and take that position away as we head towards the end of the race.
Yeah, and I think, once the guys like Bego, Van der Merwe, Sanjan Pillay, Renner make their pit stop, I don't know if their gap is big enough to Daniel Rowe at this stage. I mean, I think Daniel is still pretty much in contention. If he can keep in front of Tian Elof, is still in contention for that third place. If my math is correct, which most probably it is horribly wrong.
You see, I used to look at math quite a bit, but soon as math started mixing with English, that's when I turned off. I said straight out to my teacher when she started bringing it up that I'm sick and tired of looking for X's.
Well, you know my English is like airtime. It just sometimes runs out.
But these are the things that you have to consider in racing of what's going to be the gamble. What do you need to do? What's going to give you the advantage? As you see Mac van der Merwe pulling into the pits, that's allowed Sunjin to get by and launch his way past. Tian Elof is still battling it out with Daniel Rowe as they still nose to tail racing between the two. I think the Aston Martin has firmly connected with the back of that BMW. I think there's a nice tow rope in between the two of them. Elof getting all kinds of sideways, trying to push as hard as he can. Daniel Rowe not giving up the fight at the moment. So, I mean, these two are in a proper little dice. And
on the inside, a little bit of contact, but he made it stick. But Daniel running a little bit wide. We'll see if Daniel is able to get back. He's on his rear bump as they go through this section. So Daniel definitely going to get a little bit of a slipstream. And now, Steven, the bus stop chicane. What's going to happen? Who's going to break the latest? Who's going to give way? Most probably nobody.
Elof trying to go to the middle of the circuit and just crab walk a little bit to try and slow down Daniel Rowe. And Daniel actually having to back out a little bit, carries the momentum through to get right onto the back of Elof and really focus on the charge. But I mean, ladies and gentlemen, you want to see how dark it is in the car. There we go. This is all you see. That's as far as you can see inside the vehicle as you make your way around Watkins Glen. And, well, try and guess your brake markers when you can't even see the corner ahead of you. And then you start getting tunnel visioned into your competitor that's just ahead of you. I mean, this is not a fun place to go. And Tian Elof, you think he's having an easy run. This is all that he can see. And take a look at his rearview mirror on the right-hand side, the little screen next to the rev counter. That's what he could see with Daniel Rowe's headlights constantly hounding him at this point, and can take your eyes off the road very, very quickly, especially when you're sliding it through the corners like he's doing.
Yeah, that rear end of that car, it looks a little bit lively, that Aston, and I think it's going to get even more lively through corners like that, where the rear end, it's got a natural tendency to step away from you. It does, however, seem like he opened a little bit of a gap to Daniel Rowe behind. Don't know if Daniel will be able to come back at him as we hop to SC Esterhazy. He's in a battle with Justin Lotus.
Justin Lotus going out a little bit wide, and SC trying to go up on the inside. Once again, side by side between the two. It does look like SC managed to get a little bit more straight line. Justin Lotus not able to get by. SC just focusing on getting a little bit more drive. A little bit further back, though, here's a little bit of battle to keep an eye out for. Daniel de Villiers, Tini Nkube, and Loic Randable going and slugging it out. It is a three-way battle. Daniel de Villiers just ahead of Nkube. Nkube focusing not only just ahead of him, but also behind him, and being a little bit of piggy in the middle, having a bit of a spit-fry moment at the moment as he goes and claws his way around. But this is where you don't want to be. You don't want to be stuck in the middle of a fight and having to split your focus not only on your race, but attacking the car ahead of you and defending from the car behind you. This is the worst position for him to be in.
You've just mentioned it, splitting that, attention from attacking to defending. But at this stage, Nkube is attacking. He's not thinking about defending. And then Randable, that looked familiar.
I think Loic got a little bit overzealous, and unfortunately that has cost him. So let's actually go back a little bit and see what happened from the helmet cam of this. It looks to be likes of Loic taking a look at Nkube, trying to keep in the tote, and I think got a little bit fixated, dives up on the inside, just outbraked himself, carrying too much momentum, and just unfortunately got too close. Like Icarus flew too close to the sun.
Do you think he can blame? Do you think he can blame that on netcode?
No, I think that was a definite visiting the rear wheel arch just to check your tire pressure.
I'd still say my issue was netcode.
Well, I want to also bring up this little battle here. Both Gideon Rayner and Sanjin Pillay, even though they're not too close to one another, about 2.6 seconds between it, both of them have yet to do their mandatory pit stop. One left to go. Grant Sebastian a little bit further down. Unfortunately, he has been out for quite some time. He's not in this. He's retired the car. You can put it like that. But Gideon Rayner and Sanjin Pillay, still one stop to go. 5 minutes and 40 seconds left. Pit windows only open for 1 minute 38 seconds. So someone's going to have to bail into the pits rather quickly at some point because essentially they have this lap to do it.
No,
there's no time.
Yeah, there's not enough time to do another lap. So they will have to do that pit stop this lap. And looking, Sanjin leaving that pit entry very late as they dive into the pits. But looking back, Tian Elof has opened up a little bit of a gap to Daniel Rowe. And the gap back to Tian Elof, I don't think it's enough. I think Elof will get past Rayner and Pillay while they are in the pits. Let's see if I'm wrong.
He's making his way through. He's keeping it absolutely floored at this point, and he's going to get by.
They're on the right-hand side.
Well, take a look at... there's also been a bit of contact here. So it looks like Daniel de Villiers and Kube have got a little bit of rubbing as racing. So let's take a look what happened. And coming through turn 3, turn 4, keeping on the gas. There is our leader, Cody Sherritt, just ahead of them. And a little bit of a love tap from Nkube. And I just want to point out Philip Minnar up the inside, threading the needle between the two.
Just coming through.
You want to talk on a hard charge? Philip Minnar going after Cody Sherritt is leaving nothing on the table at this point and took one of the riskiest moves you can see. And I think one of the riskier moves we've seen during the season. And, well, he's not hanging back at this point. Ryan Otten's trying to get at the low roundabout. Does so. Oh! Well, that was a...
Oopsie.
That would be a definite whoopsie moment. Don't quite know what to put that as other than a little bit heavy-handed on both sides, not giving up.
Yeah, I think they both wanted it. Okay, now I'm speechless.
Trailer
I forgot what.
gone.
Yeah, I forgot what I wanted to say with that one.
How is it? I think it's just one of those things of it's gotten to this point that it's so dark out there that when you miss the brake marker, you've missed it by quite a bit. When you're lining up side by side with a car, they just disappear out of view. Your how can I say, your blind spots have just gotten a lot bigger around you. You can't see as well. These are the type of things that night racing has provided a challenge for all the drivers, and it's very difficult to maintain a tremendous pace or keep on the gas for so long, like what all these drivers have been doing, bouncing between the 144s, 145s. But to keep this pace up in the dark with a cooler circuit, with tires that are worn, and close racing, you're bound to land up in a world of hurt somewhere. Someone's gonna land up not having a fun race.
Yeah, absolutely. On my side monitor, I'm watching currently Philip Minnar, but I'm watching him from a helicam perspective, and that just gives you an idea of how dark it actually is on this track. I'm basically watching a set of headlights and taillights and neon lights racing around basically racing around a black screen.
There we go. This is all that you can see, and Tim the cameraman really doing some amazing work at the moment. But if you take a look at some side-by-side action, Justin Lotus, Kleinans making their way through. Kleinans, who a little bit earlier said he's going to try the undercut move to hopefully claw his way through. He looks like he's got de Villiers in the Ferrari chasing him down. But that's how dark it is. It's gone to 21 minutes past 8, 1 minute and 27 or 25 minutes left. And Kleinant's doing the undercut. You're saying, well, he's going to give it a try. He's going to do the commentator's experiment. I wouldn't call it a success. He's down 7 places from where he started.
That was not good advice.
Advice to any driver: don't listen to the commentators.
No. Maybe next time. Here's an idea. Leanne, if you are listening, we are inviting you into the commentary box next week to do pit strategies for us, please.
It's this is the type of racing that you got to be so cautious of, and never listen to the guys that have the microphone in front of you.
No. Now, for anybody that does not know Leanne Strauken, she is our pit boss. She does all our pit strategies, and she's the one that's crunching all the numbers and can tell us, if we pit now or later where we will thread out. And Steven, obviously, we need her advice. As we see Kleinant's making a move there. Oh, is it Nkube running wide there?
That's Justin Lotus.
Lotus.
Position. So Justin Lotus moving a little bit far wide to carry a bit of momentum.
Leanne said okay. So she's in the commentary box next week.
See, the problem is we don't really listen to our pit boss, and I don't think everyone else is going to listen to the pit boss as well when it comes to it. But final lap, and it is all on for Philip Minnaar and Cody Sherritt, fighting their way through the bus stop. Philip Minnaar not hanging around. Cody Sherritt trying to pull away. 0.4 of a second between the two as they claw their way around the circuit. And you can see Philip Minnaar is on a hard charge. Cody Sherritt has got his foot buried to the floor at this point to try and run away from Minnaar. And not much time's left. Couple of corners to go. And you want to start seeing hands start getting tightened up on the steering starting to deform and get fingerprint marks on them. You want to realize that your left leg is starting to shake a little bit on the brake, because you're getting those nerves coming in. This is it. This is the going for the win. It's on the final lap, and one mistake can change the entire race of it. And these two have been at each other, hammer and tongs, all race. And it's come down to this 2 corners to go. Cody Sherritt trying what he can. Philip Minnaar actually flashing his lights. I think he has said, well done. And just tip of the hat to Cody Sherritt. He's not going to keep his foot out of it just yet, trying to carry the momentum, and there's the bottom out. But Cody Sherritt taking the win for round number 3, and Philip Minnaar in second place. Going to be rather happy with that, I've got to say. 2 corners left, flashes the lights and says, well done. I'm sure a bit of a wave as well. Daniel Rowe and Bago Krobler slugging it out. These two came to blows earlier. Bago hanging on to the back of Daniel Rowe. Can he make it up on the inside? Goes out a little bit wide. The Audi sliding a little bit. That has cost him time. He's still giving it everything he's got. Daniel Rowe going to try and keep ahead of his teammates, and I think he's just going to be able to do it. Bago trying to carry the momentum, both hitting the brakes at the same time. Really forcing their way through. Side by side. Bago doing what he can. Bago actually getting ahead of Daniel Rowe. What? Daniel Rowe?
Maybe. I'm not going to mention it. Maybe.
Think the petrol tank wasn't big enough towards the end?
Either that or maybe a lift. I don't know.
Cody Sherritt in first place. Philip Minnaar in second. Tianan Elof in third. Bago Krobler in fourth. Daniel Rowe in fifth. Sanjin Pillay in sixth. Seventh place is Gideon Renner. Mac van der Merwe. Andre Serradio finishing up in ninth. Daniel DeMatros Petro coming across the line. He's flashing his lights like crazy and finishing into the top 10. Good going. SES House in 11th place. Johan Kleinans, though, in 12th place. The man that's been listening to our commentary while we race. And well done to him for dealing with the insanity and being our guinea pig. Thank you very much. Justin Lotus in 13th. Tini and Kube in 14th. 15th. Daniel De Villiers. Peter Meyer in 16th. Ryan Ottens in 17th. Loic Randable. I do apologize. Randable. Dean Kabasa in 19th. Cameron de Bastos in 20th, and Grant Sebastian in 21st.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to agree with Bertus. What a race. What a race. I mean, this is the closest finishes for first, second, and was fourth and fifth that we've seen in a very long time, Stephen.
It was absolutely amazing. And actually, Kleinon's jumping in immediately to go texting. I wonder if he's got his partner busy texting and letting us know. But saying tires actually went bad towards the end. Well, we can tell you that thanks for being the guinea pig. We won't give you the advice again. Do apologize. But yes, it was an extremely close race to the end. But this is what we come to expect from the Metal State Grid Championship, from the Pro Division. Amazing racing all the way through, tight times. And the championship's not over. This is only round 3. Next week, we're going to be heading over to Indianapolis. So that's when I can say, ladies and gentlemen, start your engines. Except it's not for the Indy 500.
Yeah, pity, ne? But, yeah, Steve, now, next week, round 4. Now we're getting into the business end of the championship. The early stages are gone. We're heading into the mid stages now. After next week, it is exactly the midpoint of the championship. So now things are going to start getting real serious. Now you're going to start sussing out your competition in this championship and see who your main rivals are for making up those places, not just in races, but also in the championship itself.
I'm excited. I don't know what's going to happen. No one knows what's going to happen. We're going to try and get a feeler out and chat to everyone and see what's going on. But ladies and gentlemen, make sure if you're on Metal State on Twitch, hit the subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, or the follow. And if you want to subscribe, feel free to do so. Glad to have you guys. And so you don't miss any of the action that's going on. Metal State has got lots of competitions, whether you like having four-wheel racing, whether you like going and seeing a bit of soccer or some fighting games. Make sure you tune into Metal State for all the fantastic prizes and all the fantastic competitions going on. If you're out on YouTube, make sure you go and hit the subscribe button with the bell notification icon on raceface.pro to see all the GT3 racing and future racing, whether it be single-seater and dirt. Who knows? We'll find out a little bit later towards the end of the year or throughout the year. And make sure you go and follow both Metal State out on all the social media, Instagram, Facebook, and such, along with RaceFace out on Facebook for all the information. Yanaman, anything in closing from your side?
Well, yet again, I'm going to say what a race. Looking forward to next week. It's Indianapolis, or how did you say it? Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's going to be an interesting one, and I think we're going to look forward to even closer racing than what we saw tonight.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining in, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys next time for some fantastic racing. Now, to make everyone fall off their chairs, I'm going to say, Tootsies, everyone.
Good night, everyone.